Welcome to the Headley Highlight Show's Headley Headspaces. The Headspaces are a series of thoughts and musings I have during the course of the week, and I chew all over them and I bring them to you. And this particular headspace is called, Is Keir Starmer the granny harmer using the Ukraine conflict as a way of reversing Brexit? Let's discuss. Before I jump onto the headspace, I'd like to thank everybody who has been subscribing to my YouTube channel. I now have 815 subscribers. Can you believe that? It's amazing. And I'm trying to get to 1,000 and then 2,000. So if you can help, please like, share, comment. And also, if you could also see your way to making a donation for this authentic content that comes to you every single week, every Friday, please visit my website, which is deniseheadley.com, where you can buy me wings, chips and a Miranda, or you can buy me rice and peas and oxtail from my local Caribbean shop, or you may wish to get me a coffee and a muffin to wash it all down afterwards. So let's jump into this conversation. Is Keir Starmer the granny harmer trying to reverse Brexit by using the Ukraine conflict? Now, that's a serious question in light of what's been happening over the last 3 years with the Ukraine conflict. We're at a point now where we have a degree of a ceasefire, and there is also still lots of conversation in discussion about how they move the peace forward. One of the problems for the peace in Ukraine is the European Union, the Ukrainians, and Keir Starmer, and the French, of course. And also the Germans. The European Union, headed by Ursula von der Leyen, has been effectively denuded by America and their foreign policy. They don't see the European Union as being a functional, useful institution, which A, they should fund, and B, they should be in conversations with. Now, Keir Starmer is also in a position where he has become a denuded leader after inheriting the office of 10 Downing Street after Brexit. So you have Keir Starmer, who is an ardent European supporter, and you have a defunct leader and a denuded leader in von der Leyen. So what does that then do? They create a conversation about peacekeeping forces in the Ukraine, and they also start to interfere with the conversation as a means of muddying the water and stymieing it, and effectively continuing the war, asking for a no-fly zone possibly being manned or personed from Poland. Now, as I understand it, the coalition of the willing is now becoming the coalition of volunteers as European countries wander away from this idea because it's absolute lunacy. You know, who's going to put troops on the ground in a direct conflict with Russia? Only an absolute individual who's had a lobotomy. Henceforth, Keir Starmer steps into the fray. Let's not forget that Ursula von der Leyen has not yet been received by Mr. Trump and probably has no intention of being received. And Mr. J.D. Vance, when he addressed the Munich Security Council, said that America is no longer funding the values that Europe is upholding, which is basically interfering in elections. Romania is an example in point, focusing very strongly on censorship and denaturing the power of nation states. And America said, we're not paying for that no more. So all of your social programs that you fund because you don't fund your defense budget, you need to pay for that. So what you have in Europe and within the political class in Europe is a fear of huge amounts of change. And that change is coming because the Ukraine war is a project. It's a grift, basically. The money is recycled within Europe to the major defense contractors. The country is cut up. Then all of the companies that are owned by BlackRock run in, suck it up, and then that's the business model. And the problem with that is that Britain moved out of it, allegedly. When we exited the European Union, we broke off all ties. We no longer were bound by their legislation. We weren't bound by their budgetary spending requirements or their policy agendas. We went back to being Britain first, the UK first. We got Brexit done. So why then is Mr. Starmer using the Ukraine conflict and his relationship with Europe, because he is moving very close to having, he's had, how many meetings has he had with Macron, with Ursula von der Leyen? We've had conversations in our press about having a European military force. He is trying to ingratiate himself into the conflict. He is leading the charge for a no-fly zone and troops on the ground. Don't forget, he already committed to troops on the ground even before the conversations were taking place for peace between Putin and Trump. So my question is, why would you be doing that? Why would you be trying to ingratiate the UK into a relationship, a military and strategic relationship with Europe when we're not even part of the European Union? Because I think he's trying to reverse Brexit by stealth. I think he's using the European conflict in the Ukraine as a way of justifying a closer relationship with Europe. And this is being mobilized around the red peril. Putin's the bogeyman, and therefore the whole of Europe needs to mobilize to destroy him. You did that. And you lost. That's the whole point. He beat you, he beat NATO, and he beat NATO and America. That's all of Europe plus America. Putin beat you. So the point of this exercise is to spend the next 5 years. Yeah, don't forget the spending projections in the spring statement. It's by 2030. Yeah, they're hoping to go in 2031. 5 years afterwards, you build up an arsenal, and then you go back for a second bite at the cherry, trying to remove whoever's in power in Russia at the time. So, and then you get yourself involved in this exercise. We've already just talked about having a 2.5 billion% increase in military spending. Do you think all that money is coming into the UK for jobs and factories at home? I don't think so. Let's see how much of that 2.5 billion actually gets spent in the UK. How much of those military contracts are going to provide jobs in the red wall seats? Going to provide industries for all of the people that you're taking the welfare benefits of? It's not going to. Because what Keir Starmer is seeking to do is to reintegrate Britain into the European Union, but by stealth. Soon you'll be seeing him attending meetings with the European Security Council. Representatives from Britain and England going to Brussels. We voted to not be in the European Union, didn't we? But is this war being used as like a way in which we can be sucked back into Europe? And given the fact that the coalition of the willing is turning into the coalition of the unwilling, the booby prize might be the UK, England get sucked back into the European Union because, like I said before, we can mobilize around the red peril. Russia, basically. The latest bogeyman that everyone needs to hate. So my 2 pence 3 cities and my declining dollar price opinion on this is that Keir Starmer is doing that. He's trying to reintegrate the UK into the European Union, and I understand also there's talk of some kind of customs arrangement for trade. So it's coming, but it's coming sneakily, just like Mr. Keir Starmer. He's not up front. He's one of those oozing individuals, sebaceous. He slithers through politics and his career. He's a slitherer. I just made up that word. Slithery Starmer. He oozes absolutely no charm because he's a harmer. Yes, I'm busting lyrics on this one now. So that's it for the night, people. In summary, Keir Starmer is trying to re-enter the European Union based on a security scare, effectively scare the public into hating Russia, thinking that they're, 2 minutes from the A406 or, the M25, and therefore we've got to spend the next 5 years investing in the war machine, and Europe, our new friends, going to help us do that. So Slithery Starmer, I like that name. See you next week. Don't forget to make a donation at deniseheadley.com, where you can buy me wings and chips and a Miranda, or you can buy me rice and peas and oxtail at my local Caribbean shop. And then you can get me, if you really fancy it, a coffee and a muffin to wash that all down. You can go to my website at deniseheadley.com, and don't forget to subscribe, like and share on the YouTube. I'm trying to get to 2,000 now, people. Let's keep it moving. See you next week, and cut!